Hello friends, welcome to Cloud Pedagogy and thanks for joining me in this session. So in this lab, we are going to estimate cost of your web application using the pricing calculator. AWS Pricing Calculator is a free web-based planning tool that you use to create cost estimates for using AWS services. You can use AWS Pricing Calculator for many use cases like modeling your solutions before building them, explore AWS service price points, review the calculations behind your estimates, plan your AWS spend. Finally, find cost saving opportunities. So, in this lab, imagine that you are a cloud architect and creating an executive presentation of infrastructure costs for expanding a simple web application project in AWS. Your team has been notified that the application is highly available to be able to serve our new customers who resides in different regions. We will use the AWS pricing calculator to view the costs of using EC2 instances that are used for the web application. So your mission is to estimate the cost of the services that are used, considering that this infrastructure will be running on AWS for at least the next few years. One good thing in this lab is there is no need to sign on the AWS console or own your own AWS account to build an estimate. You just go to AWS calculator URL to begin creating an estimate using the criteria of AWS resources. So if you are ready, let's get started with our task. In task 1, we are going to create groups. In task 2, we are going to create estimation for our services used for the application. So finally in the task 3, we are going to view the estimates that are created. So let's start with the task 1, create groups. Our objective is we will review our current cost in the AWS pricing calculator and then we will compare the current cost with our proposed change cost. So let's start in the AWS pricing calculator. Open the URL calculator.aws link. We will click on create estimate and we are not going to search for services just yet. So we will click on my estimate. We are going to add our current cost and then our proposed costs here. In order to review each separately, we will create a group for each. So click create group here. And we will call this first group CP current cost. Next we have to create another group for our proposed changes. So again scroll up here. Click on my estimate and then hit create group here. And then we call this group as CP proposed cost. Good job. You have successfully created two groups to estimate our resources with their respective groups. In the next task, we are going to create the estimation for each groups individually. Our goal is to estimate cost for Amazon EC2 instances. So click on our CP current cost to estimate our current cost for the services. Hit add services and search for the services starting with EC2. Our goal is to estimate cost for the Amazon EC2. So enter Amazon EC2 in the search bar and then choose configure. The calculator view is preloaded with default values so that you can see a starting estimate without adding or changing any information. You can change any of these values, otherwise you can also keep the defaults when they are applicable. In the description field, enter a description for your estimate. We will call CP EC2 current estimate. Choose a region. Since our current application resides in North Virginia region, so I am selecting the same. Next, your operating system. This is the operating system on an Amazon EC2 instance. AWS Pricing Calculator generates your estimate using AMIs that match the OS you choose. I will just leave it to Linux only here. So and then choose the number of EC2 instances. Our current application is only having one instance, so I am just leaving the default as it is. AWS Pricing Calculator uses this default because it's the minimum number that you might need, right? So that's what we want. AWS Pricing Calculator lists all available instance types here. Use the search bar to filter the instances. I leave all other rest as default because that's how my current EC2 instance has the configurations. So hit on save and add service. Good, our current estimation of our application is done. Next thing is we need to estimate for the proposed changes. Do the same process again by changing some of the configuration setup elements. So I'll go to CP proposed cost group here and then click on it, then hit add service. Again search for EC2 and configure. Enter a name for the description. Here I said CP EC2 proposed estimate. In this, I'm planning my instance to be in a different region due to application availability. So I'm selecting US West Oregon region. Since I have many users in the same region, again I'm increasing my instance count from 1 to 2. And again I'm leaving all the values as defaults and then click Save and Add Service. Right now we have added only 2 instances to make it simple, but you can add as many as services depending on your use cases. Good job, you have successfully estimated services in 2 different groups. In the final task, we are going to view the estimate for the current and proposed application cost. Since we have current and proposed cost for our application, it's time to look at the values. So click on My Estimate link here. Here you can see the total cost, which is $55 around for the current and proposed yearly cost for our application. Below you can see the cost for 2 groups differently so that you can compare their cost as well. Let's take a look at how this compares to our current cost. We can see our current cost group showing a monthly cost of $1.53 and the proposed changes with a monthly cost around $3. If you want to report this difference, you could export this estimate and provide it to your team. Let me do that. Click on Export on the top right corner here. It's easy for me to analyze it in PDF format, so I'm choosing PDF. Once it is downloaded in your local system, then you can share this to your team members or clients to show the cost differentiation. Congratulations! Now you know on how to create estimation costs for your project in AWS. I hope you are very much interested in doing and learning this lab. I'm sure we'll see each other again in the next lab. Until then, keep learning.